if I pressed all the right buttons. Hello. I'm going to need the both of your help. Jason, you especially. Okay, we're gonna invite more people in here. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. There's just the three of us. Let's see if I press all the right buttons. Okay, is that camera working? Is the sound synced to my lips? Look at this camera. This unforgiving is gonna see all the pores on my face camera. There we go. Look how close it is. Alright. So my issue is I'm giving people sort of a generic link to go to my YouTube page, but I'm unsure as to how to grab the link directly because I am streaming using a third-party program, or yeah, a third party. That's interesting. All right, let's see where this bubble goes when I hit the button. No, OBS is a tiny bit too heavy on the processing to run on a Mac, so I had to find, I think, something that's optimized for Mac. Okay, let's see. Where does your comment come up? Hey, comes up under my head. Good. Is the music overbearing in the background? Can you hear it? Is it overwhelming my voice? M. Santos, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You are one of my test rabbits. You're not hearing the music. Okay, stand by. Let's see if we can turn it up, see if you can hear it. How about now? I mean, obviously, you're here for my smooth tones and my smooth stylings. should be that should be a little bit more audible, no? You should be able to hear that a little bit better. Oof. That camera is just insane. I hate turning on the autofocus. There we go. That should be better, right? Blah, blah, blah. There's the music. You just have to make sure that the pass-through is clean. That way all that the display is going through your HDMI without any issues. Am I streaming right now? Yeah. Art Jedi, am I streaming right now? The answer is yes, but not technically officially. I just wanted to see if all the buttons worked. Thank you so much, Marcus. I appreciate it. Thank you, Art Jedi. I appreciate that. You know, another thing that doesn't tell me this program, it doesn't tell me any people in this room. I wonder if that's native to StreamYard. It's the test. That is correct, Art Jedi. It's the test. I don't know, maybe I'll keep it on for a little bit just to see how the stream does. To see if the upload speeds hold up okay, if my internet holds up alright. Am I creating my own brushes in Procreate? No, sadly, I don't have the patience to do it. I typically just find them somewhere online, a set that I really like, and I use them as is. Maybe I'll adjust it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You know what I mean? Like I'll wind down the spacing a little bit so it's not as textury. Yeah, I don't think you can get any feedback in StreamYard. How many views? Okay, cool. Look at that. Look how obnoxious if you have a long thing that you typed out. It goes directly across the screen. I wonder if it's better if I move that bubble to the bottom. I want to be able to interact with you guys, obviously. But I just want to make sure that it's in the optimized way. Or excuse me, in the most optimized way as possible. Okay. Or am I using StreamYard? No. The StreamYard, how do you say this? Like StreamYard, for you to get the kind of windows that that's on screen right now, I would literally have to, what would I have to do? I'd have to invite myself with a couple of links and then assign a camera. Now the thing that StreamYard doesn't know how to do very well is window placement. I can pretty much place this window anywhere on the screen. So yeah, I wanted to have control over that. StreamYard does have a look. And I think that's the reason why I moved this bubble over here. But if I move it down here, is that anti-StreamYard? Oh jeez, I lost you. Okay, here. I move it down here. I kind of like it next to my head because like you guys are talking to me. Here, I'll leave it over here. David, how are you? Ogre, how are you? I saw the train wreck and had to give in, had to drop in and give a thumbs up. Thank you for thumbs upping my train wreck. I should not clear my throat in front of the microphone. I was just watching a stream with you and Mateo Scalera and Sean Crystal talking about crowdfunding this book. Oh, right on. When did that go live? And it was on Sean Crystal's podcast, right? That was on Inkpulp, yes? A different look than StreamYard is good. A different look than StreamYard is good. I agree with you. Now here's the thing. I have to queue. It's not any different than StreamYard, come to think of it. But because I don't have a moderator, could you even do that back in the day? I think I would have to get on call with Jason, with Panda there, and Panda Mercenary, in order for him to be able to read off the comments, but he would not be able to control bringing up the comment on screen, so that's interesting. Christopher John, hi Eric, huge fan. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Just tuned in. David says, just tuned in. Are you going to draw on stream today? The answer is yes. I'm just trying to see if all the buttons work. Okay, now the music is going not full blast, but it's pretty audible on my end. Is it overbearing my voice at all, or is it still low? Because if it's low, I prefer it that way than have it be covering up what I'm trying to say. So I need your guys' input and feedback. I'd appreciate it. And then we're going to get to the business of drawing to see what the delay is. Should I move this window up like this so I can read you guys directly? Music's still quieter than your voice. Okay, that's good, right? Good? That's good? I hope. Okay, wonderful. Overwhelming music would be hell. Camera looks good. What am I missing? Camera looks good. Lighting looks good. I never knew I had like this little dot on my head. Look at that. That's old age, kids. Lights all work. Sound works. Microphone works. This digital mixer works. iPad works. Can you guys see that little oil animation thing that's happening in the background behind the iPad on screen? Can you guys see that okay? Hey, Ignacio, thank you so much. I'm so happy this is happening. Hello, how are you? See, there you go. +1 on StreamYard. Suck it, StreamYard. Oh, I didn't know you're watching it on mobile. You're watching it on mobile, Panda. Cool. Oh, the other thing, I wanted to see if the social media stuff in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen was being cut off. Because there's registration on the app that I'm using, on the program that I'm using, but I'm not exactly sure if I am using that registration correctly. So as long as that's legible, that's great. What am I using instead of StreamYard? There is a program that is, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Fortunately, because it's optimized for it. Unfortunately, because obviously it's only available for Mac. It is called Ecamm, Ecamm, Ecamm Live, and it's not such a resource hog like OBS is. So, okay. So I am going to run through. Well, maybe I don't have to, because I have it set up so that if I ever have a guest on, like, hold on, stand by. Let me see if I can bring up that window. See if I have a guest on. Right? We can be talking while I'm drawing. And then if I bring a guest on and we can both be drawing at the same time. And then, and I don't know if I turned my camera on. Maybe I can do it now. Yeah, let me turn it on so you guys can see this other setup. Okay, stand by. So you can see I can actually draw traditional. Right? And then I can pretty much share my entire desktop just by switching back and forth. See that? The cool thing, and I don't know if this is available on StreamYard, if it's a function on StreamYard or not, but there's a little, I'm really easily impressed, but there's a little box that you can tick off in which your actual screen, or excuse me, your desktop goes black, so there's nothing too revealing in there. And you guys get to see my beautiful face if I just want to talk. Where does this pop up if I, on this screen? Oh, there it goes. Huh. Okay, let's get back to the iPad. How much time do I have? I have about an hour and a half. Maybe I can draw. What do you guys think? Can I just draw? Or if I'm drawing, like, are you guys just seeing the top of my head? That's not too bad. The range of this camera is, if I don't change the focus, is right here. That's not too bad. Okay. I kind of need to know where I'm sitting in relation to this camera that has like a, I don't know what this lens is, like a 30mm lens with, and is it the f-stop is at 1.4 right now. That's not too bad. Okay, let's draw. So while you guys have the, you guys are the beneficiary of me trying to work on my pages, but heads up, and I don't know if you guys care to know or not, but there's going to be spoilers because I am 3 issues deep into Arc Athena, and there's stuff in here that you guys are going to get to see. I don't know if you're the type that's like, hey man, I don't want to see any of this stuff, so you give me a heads up. Cool? I did notice the social media graphics lose a little clarity without a black background. Yeah, me too. Manifesto, thank you so much. I saw that too. When it goes to full screen, what do I need to do? When it goes to full screen, when I'm looking at the desktop, because the desktop is white, it just means I'm gonna have to do something about the social media so that it pops out some more. So that's what this this sort of test stream is all about. So I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Can we get the elevator pitch for this book? Yeah, sure. There are I use the tagline where there are heroes that the heroes that you celebrate, but they're not necessarily the ones saving your lives. There's no question that you can draw. The question is, will you draw? Oh boy. Now it's pressure. Do whatever you want. I'd love to hear you talk about Arc Athena, so I don't care about spoilers. Okay, just making sure. Lex Everest says, excited to see it. Didn't know you were doing it on Procreate. I am. I really am. Okay, I'm going to move this screen. Actually, I'm going to make this screen smaller because I don't really need to see my face at the moment. So I'm just going to go like this. Make this small. That way I can see the chat a little bit bigger. What I don't like, and I'll tell you this, it took forever to come up with the setup that I have right now, because what I don't like is when I'm reading the chat, I'm going like this. Right? I kind of want to be able to at least generally look to where the lens is, because I feel like it's a tiny bit more personal. I know it's not directly into the lens, like I'm looking into your soul. But at least it's not, oh gosh, I saw the version where somebody has their camera over here and they need to look at the screen, which is directly in front of them here, and it just looks weird. There's a disconnect for me, right? Like I'm looking at the bottom part of their chin and jaw, and I didn't like it. So anyway, Donald, how are you, man? I truly am live. 100%. Yeah, I think that's one of the other things about StreamYard too. It's I tested it out. The Jason, my buddy who runs Essential Sequential, he recommended it to me, but the functionality of it for the kind of stuff that I want to do while I'm streaming isn't ideal. It's perfect when you're just kind of having conversations with people and bringing them in. But when it comes to me predominantly doing what I used to do on Twitch, which is not to say it's the most ideal either, but for the most part, I think when I stream, I'm going to try to get a little bit of work done, maybe a little bit of fapping off, but because the concentration version of my work happens in the morning. At nighttime, what I want to be able to do is to be able to talk to you about my process when I'm drawing Arc Athena, and that's a little bit more leisurely, a little bit more organic, and I'm not so worried about like, oh man, I gotta get these pages done. So heads up for the new people in stream, right? I'm gonna be talking about Arc Athena and the hell. I'm about 3 issues in. So if you are the kind of person who are you don't care for spoilers, hands up. You might be seeing pages that's like way ahead of the curve, and it might end up spoiling stuff for you. So you guys tell me, or at the very least, I'll give you enough prompt. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be looking at pages. I'm for sure going to be working on pages tonight, and if you don't want to see any of it, there you go. Spoiler warning. Christopher John, how are you? Welcome. Look at that. The stream is holding up okay. There are a handful of you that just walked into the room super late. So I wanted to show off this really cool app. Again, it's exclusive to Mac only. So like, if I ever wanted to bring on a guest and we're kind of chit-chatting and I can draw, I can do this. Look at that. And if I ever want to bring on a guest and we both wanted to draw, I can do this. You know? Isn't that fancy? And do I have a 3-person? Look at that. I can do that. 3 people working at the same time. Fancy schmancy. Stupid. Okay, this can be pretty. This can be pretty laid back. We can just talk. I'm gonna try to be as diligent about putting up your comments on screen like this. Look at that. Speaking of getting pages done, years ago on the Sidebar podcast, you talked very seriously about deadlines and how conditioning your comic career up to that point. How has that changed for you? How has it changed for me? I'm not, and this is going to sound counterintuitive to what I had said years and years ago, but I don't take drawing comics as seriously anymore. It used to be, and I think the reason why is because it turned into a job and it wasn't fun, right? Like, I don't know when it happened in my career. I think it's the moment I turned it into my job as opposed to my hobby. That's when it became really painful and abrasive, and I wasn't having fun anymore. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I had to step away from comics. On top of, I genuinely believe that I could make a living out of it. I wasn't as fast as I should have been, but for the most part, it was because I wasn't having fun anymore. And only up until recently, let's say about 2 or 3 years ago, I started having fun doing sequential stuff again. I didn't really have an idea for what I would be drawing, but I tried out these fake X-Men panels that I was trying to tease my buddy Rick Remender to come and write an X-Men script for me. And when I was doing those sequential panels one at a time, I was like, oh, this is fun again. And that's where it germinated from. Now, it took 3 years to maturate to the point where I wanted to draw a miniseries like Arc Athena. But it took as long as it needed to. Stone Monkey, how are you, man? Hey, I found out about Eric from the Sidebar podcast. I owe those guys so much freaking money. Hello, Pete. Pete, can I tell you, and I've never had an opportunity to tell you this either via social media or anywhere else, but I want you to hear it from me. Your tenacity and diligence of being a publisher, staying positive, staying zoned into the mission that you got yourself in. I have such a high level of admiration and respect for you, man. I like, it's cool to think about running a marathon, right? Like getting ready for it and everything, and you hear the starting gun go off and off you go. But running a marathon means 26 some odd miles, and buddy, you run a marathon every single day. So respect to you. I love it when the music just stops. There we go, here. Try this. Hey. Thanks for answering, Eric. I'm glad you took this trip and came back to have fun with comics. Yeah. Okay. Heads up. Spoilers. Okay, so we're at issue 3. And this is the most fun I've had in a long, long time drawing sequential art. It's been such an amazing experience. I'm just going to swipe through so you guys can see what issue 3 looks like. And this is as rough as I am with my pencils. Oh, by the way, I might be... Hold on, let me swipe through the pages really quick, and then I'll tell you about my plan to grab your emails from you, so that you guys can, or at least those who are interested, will be that much more incentivized to sign up for my email list, okay? So this is probably going to be one of the early adapters, early backers, premiums for each issue, issues 1 through 5, every time there's a campaign that's out for the first. And we haven't decided yet what the length of time is. Maybe it's 48, maybe it's 72, but within that time, if you commit to the campaign at whatever, I think it's at the base level, there is going to be an ashcan sent out to you. Again, first 48 hours, first 72 hours. An ashcan gets sent out to you with your with your package, with nothing but the pencils in it, no dialogue, just the roughs that you're looking at right now. And I think that's one of the great benefits of being able to work in Procreate, is that everything is I'm saving everything in layers, you know? That's interesting. I think I'll shrink the iPad down so you guys can actually see the actual page. What do you think? Hey, there we go. Look how easy peasy that is on this fancy schmancy program. Really looking forward to this one. Great work. Thank you, Pete. Hey, look, I get to press this button and your comment comes up. Thank you so much. I really like the look of the guy with the neck frills. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I'm gonna need to get used to oh gosh, how do you say it? Like making sure that I'm hitting that button that posts your guys' comments up, because I really feel like there's a connection between us. If you know for sure that I read your comment, that means a lot to me. If we build that sort of community and relationship, I appreciate that. Okay, these pages look fantastic. You know what? I'm gonna click this button. There it goes. Remember what it means to be a good streamer again, Eric. Dummy. I am absolutely head over heels with the opportunity to work on this book. It is so much fun. Ooh, I'm not going to swipe to the end of this thing, because I think there's a major spoiler. And I really hope there's nothing too, what do you call it on my iPad? Too doxy in my, is that a word? Too doxy in my iPad. I love the angles you use. Something I need to practice. Right on. Okay, let's look. Because here's something that I wanted to show you, but I think there is a much better image if I go to photos. If there's nothing in my photos area. Nope. I'm going to send it to myself just so I can show it to you guys. I'm pretty excited about it because the folks that are working on it are, I mean, they're just phenomenal. Super duper phenomenal. Okay. Tell me when you guys can see this. Can you guys see that okay? Ryan Cardinal, how are you? Okay, so the first 3 months leading into Arc Athena, we are going to be doing effectively just an email / newsletter. By the way, Pete, thank you so much for the heads up on that. You are not the only person that I touch base with in regards to sort of building awareness and obviously being able to contact people and giving them a heads up when the campaign goes live. But multiple people have said that's the best way to go. Actually, that's an optimal way to go. So I really, really appreciate your time in giving me your advice about it, you know? What was I going to say? Okay, so the other thing, by the way, I just switched to a different setting on the virtual mixer. So you tell me if everything got messed up, if you guys can even if you guys can hear my words coming out. So, okay, so as I was saying, 3 months leading into the campaign for Arcathena, book one. By the way, Arcathena is five issues. We're going to crowdfund each issue. The idea is to, and because I'm finishing all of them before we start the crowdfunding, the idea is that I want to lessen the time from end of campaign to delivery to the supporters' hands, right? So typically what I've seen on average is about an 8-month wait, 6-month wait, depending if people don't run late. So let's say conservatively about 8 months, right? And a campaign from the person producing it to when it actually goes out to you, maybe even a year, which I think is a tiny bit too long. So what I'm trying to do is finish all 5 issues, crowdfund issue 1, right? End that campaign, get that book out to you, and in about 2 weeks after all of that fulfillment stuff is done, crowdfund the next one. Does that make sense? Until we're all done with it, right? Until we're done with all 5. And my hope, knock on wood, is that there won't be too much fatigue over it, right? But the other thing is that, again, shortening that divide between end of campaign to like 8 months, and you're like, oh, I've heard a handful of people anecdotally say, like, I'd completely forgotten that I even supported that book, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. So what I'm trying to do, end of campaign, into your hands, 2.5 months, 3 months. Does that make sense? What do you guys think? I think it's possible. I think it's genuinely possible to be able to do it. 2.5 months, 3 months. But we're going to get ahead of it by actually pre-printing a lot of it ahead of time. At least the baseline tier. Okay, so 3 months. We're going to give ourselves a 3-month runway into gathering emails from people, making them in hopes of making them aware, and in hopes of building a newsletter and making them aware as we get closer and closer behind the scenes stuff, things like that. And that, how do I best put this? So for every person that signs up for the email and newsletter, we're going to give you a nice little premium. It's going to be like, art that is exclusive to the guys who've signed up for the email and newsletter. Who've signed up for a newsletter. I need to be able to just think of it as a newsletter, right? Excuse me. I'm a complete noob. Okay, so we want to incentivize you getting your email, but we're going to give you a newsletter so that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. A little bit of hype leading into that, and also a little bit of premium for your time, right? But in the first month of the people who are signing up for these emails, one more thing I'm going to send to myself. And I'm going to show it off to you as far as a work in progress is concerned. So the first month, we're going to 3D print this bust. Do you guys remember those Marvel Bowen mini bust statues? You guys remember that? We're going to print out 3 of these, right? We're going to give one away at the end of each month. Let's say there's 100 people that sign up the first month. We pick a random person. We send that bust out to them. We roll the rest of the 99 into the month thereafter, and however many other ones that we get into month 2. We do another random giveaway, send that bust out to that person. Whatever's left over from month 1 and month 2, we roll over into month 3. At the end of month 3, we send the 3rd bust out to them. Does that make sense? And so that by the end of, and every issue, so issue 3, there's going to be, or issue 2, there is going to be there's going to be a new bust and a new sculpt. Issue 3 is going to have a new sculpt. Issue 4 and issue 5. There you go. Anyway, here's what I sent to the 3D modeler. After all that super long-winded way of saying that, here's what I sent to the 3D modeler. Here you go. And here is what they sent to me as work in progress so far. Can you guys see that okay? Here, let's open it using Procreate. I gotta get used to everything, man. Open. Can you guys see that all right? Good. So there you go. That's work in progress so far. And all, I believe, for the sake of your guys' support. I'm a huge fan of that era back when I was super heavy into collecting comics, and I loved everything that was that surrounded it. I had a particular affinity, although I could not afford those busts for myself, because even though they were like $80, $90 or something like that, some of them went even for as high a premium, like $100. I could not afford any of that stuff. So, but I remember them fondly, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I made my own? And then having conversations with friends, they're like, wouldn't it be cool if we sort of like gave them away as thank yous? And I was like, yeah, that would be absolutely cool. But we couldn't afford to, generate as many as we could. Like, that would just be crazy. That wouldn't be super cost effective. But it's cool enough to say, hey, thank you for your time. Out of the 100 of you, one of you, we're going to pick out at random to be able to get this. So there you go. Thank you very much for listening to that. Let's actually get some drawing done. Oh, yeah, here's what I sent to the sculptor. I hope you guys can see that okay. Cool. All right, I haven't been good at reading chat all that much, but I kind of needed to concentrate on what I wanted to say so that some of it made sense. Okay, I'm going to draw now. Is that okay? I'm just going to draw Arc Athena pages if that's all right with you guys. Is that cool? Did I screw up this ratio? No, I didn't. Huh. I can see the entire thing now. I kind of had it zoomed in way so much more than before. Have I been talking for 45 minutes and not drawing? Shameful. Let me make sure I'm on the right freaking layer. Okay, I'm gonna look up periodically, but if I can draw, if I can remember, I just literally thought, like, if I can remember my fast twitch muscles, because I was gonna make reference to when I used to stream on Twitch, but that was a lame joke. But if I can remember those muscles in which I can draw and look up and chit-chat with chat, then I will have considered the rust sort of shaken off, and I'm back to premium streaming performance. I'm always hesitant to think about, to talk about the entire plot for Arc Athena, not because I'm afraid, somebody's gonna come to steal it, because who cares? Like, if you're gonna take it, go ahead. You're more than welcome to. It's because it's hard for me. I'm not in the, what's the best way to say it? I have not been in the exercise of summarizing, which is obviously something that I need to get better at. I have not been in the exercise of summarizing. Every time that I explain it to my friends, I always start from like page 1, scene 1, They're like, dude, you're gonna need to not do that. You're gonna need to be able to sort of do somebody referred to it earlier, like the elevator pitch for the series, because people would want to know just based on a couple of sentences whether or not they're on board. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I promise you, the more I do this, the more I stream, the more I talk about it, I'm sure I'm going to come up with like that cool tagline. I kind of want to come up with a cool ass tagline like RoboCop, you know, something like part man, part machine, all cop. And you're like, ooh, I get it. Part man, part machine, all cop. So for sure I can't use that one because that one's taken. But I want something that cool. Are you working? James Burke is asking me if I'm working on a tablet. And the answer is yes. I'm working on an iPad Pro. Is this real life? Hello, David Peterson. Folks, I've said this on Twitch before, but this is my first time ever streaming live on YouTube. David Peterson and I go back what feels like decades, right? But I feel like our kinship is centuries old. Dave has been nothing but a kind, generous, and giving supporter of my work from the time that he and I ran into each other at shows. If you don't know, which you absolutely should, so allow me the opportunity to tell you, Dave Peterson is the creator, artist, writer, the genius behind a book called Mouse Guard. Again, if you haven't read it, please do so. There are multiple volumes that are out right now. It would be a benefit to you if you did it. A fantastic read. As a matter of fact, not to pat myself on the back too much, I had the opportunity to work with and for David in one of the installments, and it was a pleasure. It was such a great playground and sandbox he has established, and I had so much fun drawing for him. And it's just indicative of him and his character to be able to put on multiple hats, businessman, writer, artist, and now streamer. Dave streams on Twitch. I don't know. I haven't been back to Twitch in forever, so forgive me if I don't remember your frequency, Dave. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for setting an example. Thank you for being so good to me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Hello, Oz Great Sage. Hello, hello. How are you? Hello, Black Rose. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Mo Biggs, hello. Thank you for being here. Eddie Winkler, how are you? Eric, can't wait for your project to launch. You have a great colorist. You know, it is. I think he cut your teeth. I think Jules cut his teeth on your book. If you guys don't know, Eddie Winkler has a book called, oh, don't tell me. It's so cool. And for the life of me, Wolf. Something Wolf. David, help me out. Something Wolf. Sovereign. Got it. Sovereign Wolf. And I remember when, oh gosh, who showed me pages from it? But there was a pinup in there, and I was dying for a colorist, and the art was phenomenal. The colors complemented it so well, and I was like, who is that person? And I had reached out to them, and that's when I ran into Jules, and Jules is just like, it would be lovely to work with you. So I think he got a lot of good practice. He executed on your book so well, and really cut his teeth on it. And by the time he started working with me, he was just performing at a very high level. Although I have to give him so much credit in dealing with a jerk like me, because I am a tough person to deal with when it comes to colors, because I have a preconceived notion of what it is in my head. But what Jules does is he's able to manifest whatever that's going on in my head so that it all makes sense, because there's too many things that's going on as far as like color approaches. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we do this? Wouldn't it be cool if we do this? But you merge them together and it doesn't look very good, so he knows how to negotiate the feel that I'm looking for and then go and execute it in such a way where it all looks cohesive. So first of all, thank you so much for showing off his artwork. Good luck with your campaign. I hope that it is as successful as you set it out for to be. And thank you for introducing me to Jules' work. So I appreciate that. Did I say to you, did I say hello already, Mobigs? William C, hello, how are you? Hello, everyone. I'm trying to get used to this clicking the button and your comment goes up on screen, so forgive me if I'm not as studious as some. I'm trying to get my streaming muscles back up into performance level, and it's been a long time. 2.5 years, I think, more than. Hey Hockey, this is where everybody went to. Good day. Hello, how are you? Thank you for being here. It comes across disingenuous calling this stream a train wreck when you have experienced a Michael Bancroft. Oh, Bancroft did a phenomenal job. I think he knows exactly the sort of he knows exactly how much of the wick he needs to light on that dynamite for the conversation to continue to move forward, you know? And it takes a special kind of host to be able to do that efficiently and not make it look clumsy. I know that, I know I've been on a few shows where it's not as organic, and Bancroft did it well. So first of all, I appreciate him bringing me on. I appreciate for you watching while I was there and tolerating me. So thank you. They did a great job. For those of you that missed it, Dave Peterson, creator of Mouse Guard, is in the house. Yes, thank you so much. Dave, I really can't thank you for your friendship all these years. Thank you, thank you. Eric, I saw your notes for the guy's Spider-Man drawing. That was really informative, cool. I felt bad. I'm always always of the space where it's like, how much is too much, to the point where I'm kind of almost berating the guy, because you can't understand context in just notes, right? You can't understand tone, you can't understand tenor, and it's hard to sort of decipher intent. And I don't want to make him feel bad, right? Because some of the comments that he had gotten from the people that he had tagged on that picture, on that drawing that he did, was like, any feedback would be great, you know, or like advice. And they gave in general, which I thought had value. But I thought he was asking specifically about like, hey, I did this, what do you think, right? If you're hearing me talk now, giving feedback the way I did it in those notes, you understand. I hope that you would understand that it was coming from a good place, that I was trying to say, hey man, you're in a good spot, right? But here's a couple of things that you can think of. I bet you once you unlock these things, you're going to be so much stronger. And then there's going to be the next set of keys, or there's going to be the next set of locks that you kind of need to find a way through, right? But when you're just writing it in text and also you're just drawing it in pictures, it's missing that interaction, and it's missing that human touch. So I felt bad. I hope I didn't come off like a jerk. I really was trying to be as helpful as possible. Eric, can you talk about your reasons for streaming on YouTube as opposed to other platforms? Yes. I don't want to go too deeply into it because I wouldn't feel good about talking down the previous place that I was streaming in, which was Twitch. There was a lot of things that was happening on that platform. I think, I don't want to say hypocrisy, but inconsistencies, right? That I didn't particularly care for. And also, in my experience, whenever I would tell people, and I think this is near the higher on the list than the inconsistencies as far as enforcing their policies. This was higher on my list when I would say, hey, I stream my art, right? You guys can come and watch me, or you can go and watch a video that I did of the stream that I did, you know? And they say, oh, that's awesome, I want to do that. Where was it? And when I say Twitch, 4 out of 5 people don't know what it is, right? Like we're talking about just John Q Public, just a regular guy. They don't know what it is. But if I say, hey, my videos are on YouTube, just plug in Eric Kennedy, you'll be able to find me. I think that it's a lot easier for them to understand. You know what I mean? It's like trying to explain cryptocurrency to somebody as opposed to like the US dollar. Just one got a lot more traction. Hello, Richard Pace. How are you, man? Long time no see. Don't worry, Eric. You read good, and that's Spider-Man too. Oh, thank goodness. It would be heartbreaking for me because it seemed like he was in a... like the thing is, I don't want to ever sit there and just like look at your art and I'm gonna I don't want to disincentivize their enthusiasm. So I hope I did more good than bad. I run into fans. I'm going to actually press this button, Dave, so we can read it. I run into fans who say, "Oh, I don't have Twitch," thinking it was a subscription service. That's pretty much it. I think if there is a top of the list, it's that specifically. Hello, Rob. You want to know a guy who has also helped me out in trying to understand the geography and the, at least for a noob like me, the dark room that is crowdfunding. Rob has, right? Like, I like to call him Rob the Replicator. I have not committed his surname to memory. By the way, if you haven't done so already, please go visit his campaign on Indiegogo. I think he has. He's near the end, but obviously, I think he's left it open to even more support. So if you could please do that, that would be amazing. Rob has been one of the voices that I have turned that have been super supportive. One of the people that I've turned to go like, what does this look like? What's ideal? You know, and he has been so willing to give as much information without any sort of like apprehension whatsoever. Hey man, I remember the first thing that he said to me, which was, it made me excited. It got me enthused into learning more. And it was a very simple question / statement, which is, how can I help? And that was huge for me. You know, like, how can I help? Right? And I've built a very good relationship. In my opinion, from my perspective, I've built a very good relationship with Rob, and I hope he feels the same about me, where I can turn to him and just be like, hey man, I don't know what this looks like. Does this sound dumb? You know, like, here's an idea. Is this feasible? Right? And the great thing is he's very honest. You know, like, I wouldn't do this. This may not work for you because of X, Y, and Z based on his experience. So thank you so much, Rob. Again, if you haven't visited his campaign, I would really appreciate it if you could just go take a look. It means the whole world to me. I already backed him. He doesn't need press from me. Besides, it'll only go to his head. I mean, I'm not sure there's worse places that it could go, but thank you so much. Just back Replicator today. Looking forward to it. That's awesome. That is really great. Well, thank you all for being here. I think I have another hour. So I think everything is holding up well, right? Music isn't being stupid. The microphone is working. Right? The overlays are working. The camera is working. The internet hasn't crapped out on me yet. Everything is working out. Great. So why the name Arkathena? That's a great question. And I suspect this won't be the last time that I talk about why it's called Arkathena. I remember when I was thinking about the project that I wanted to do that made me excited. And I know this is kind of cliche, but please bear with me. The things that made me excited about working on a book again is all the nostalgic stuff that I loved reading back when I was heavy duty into like reading comics, right? Which is ultimately like Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. More Chris Claremont because he went through runs with different artists who I hold in very high regard. Everybody from like Paul Smith to John Byrne to Mark Silvestri and Rick Leonardi, and then near the end there, Jim Lee. And then the hype leading, that was like early 90s, 91, 92, 93, leading into them leaving and forming Image, and just sort of the fervor, right? Like the frothing at the mouth fervor that I was experiencing when they announced Wildcats. And I thought to myself, like, that is so freaking cool. I went to a local convention in a broke down convention hall in Los Angeles, and I saw the little flyer that he had with the first image that he drew of Wildcats. It showed some resemblance to what it ultimately turned out to be in the comic, but there was a little tiny minor differences. But I was so hyped on that thing. I had that thing pinned up on my corkboard forever. And when I found out what Wildcats meant, I think it meant like the cats part is an abbreviation of like covert action teams. That I think that's the first time I can recollect rolling my eyes, like, oh my gosh, what the hell? It was cooler when it was just called Wildcats, you know. I think eventually it did just, you know, drop the drop the cats part, it just became Wildcats. But I remember having a smirk on my face when I thought, what am I going to call this book? And so as a tribute to Wildcats, the ARC part used to, I jokingly told a handful of my friends who I was sort of pitching the idea to about what ARC stood for. And it was as, I don't want to say dumb because Jim's idea wasn't dumb. It was like, I don't know. It was a bit eye-rolling to me. I don't know how they felt about it, but it was as eye-rolling as the cats part. ARC, A-R-C, used to stand for something, right? Which is the name of the organization that helps fund them, you know? And this was before it became the name of the organization that funded them, right? It was as silly as covert action teams. And then eventually, as I developed the story more, I was like, that's too much. So I just took it out and turned it into the organization, which is called ARC. Anyway, ARC represents the company, Athena represents the unit. Does that make sense? So ARC Athena, and do I have pages that show off? You guys want to understand the plot behind it while we're here and I have like 50 minutes to burn? Athena is the social media team, right? And I say like social media team because they are the ones that are put in front of the world by the ARC company to say like, hey, look at these amazing people that we can all get behind, right? Unfortunately, I akin it to like, there was that scene in Suicide Squad in which Amanda Waller was actively trying to press heads of government to like fund her Suicide Squad, and she gave the example of like, imagine if Superman had come down and taken over the White House, who would be able to stop him? And you're like, yeah, that's right. You would want to form a super team to want to stop him. And then you see the members of Suicide Squad, and like, none of these guys can deal with Superman. So it was laughable, right? So that, I think, in spirit, is what informs the members of Athena, which is like, you love to watch them because they are so dang amazing, you know, like. The closest thing is you can think of is superhero social media influencers, right? But then that is enough to distract the public. The actual deeds that need to get done, the awful stuff that needs to happen in order to keep citizenry safe, the world safe, is done by a dark team called ARC Poseidon. And that's what the book is about. Does that make sense? So there you go. I think one of the themes that I'm having to deal with in writing with the book is when the characters have to find the mechanisms in order to be able to deal with the fact that they're in way over their heads. And what does it mean to have that kind of, to sort of be compelled to have that kind of growth, right? Some people deal with it very, very differently than others. You would hope that a lot of them would step up to the plate and be like, okay, I'm ready for it, right? But people just aren't built that way. So this explores that. Kind of like the corporation from The Boys. Yeah, I mean, when I pitched it when I was walking Jules, the colorist for the book, when I was walking him through the story, he was, depending on where you are and the sort of fandoms that you're involved in, there is a close Venn diagram to whatever it is. There's a close proximity, there's a close similarity to whatever it is that you're in. You said The Boys. When I told the Jules, he was like, oh, it's kind of like, and I can't remember what anime he mentioned. He's like, oh, it's kind of like this anime. Have you ever seen it before? I'm like, no, I've never seen that before. And I only loosely know about The Boys, which is like, and it's not me saying like, oh, I didn't steal it from anything. More than anything, I'm like, okay, great, it works. Somebody made it work already as a first time long-term writing assignment for myself. I'm comforted by the idea that the concept works. Now, what I hope to bring is just my own sort of perspective to it. Does that make sense? Is Jules in the chat? Because I just saw Eddie Winkler say hey to him. I have now just relegated myself to calling him Jules because after I saw the first X amount of colors that he turned in, in my head, I thought like, look at this badass MFer, and I immediately thought about Sam Jackson's character from Pulp Fiction, who was called Jules, and so now whenever he sends me pages to go like, what do you think of this or this? I always think of him as just like, a colorist. Sam Jackson is a colorist. Which is really stupid. When you're coming up with story, do you write in prose format? Do you go straight from comic script type format? I'm used to reading scripts, right? I work in animation in the past, so I kind of know what the scripts are. Although with Arc Athena, I wrote everything in beats, right? And I feel so bad for, there are challenges that are going to be coming, and the letterer for the book, a very talented draftsman in his own right, Eric Weathers, is going to be just the biggest, the most patient, but the biggest sort of like bulletproof vest when it comes to like trying to tie this all together, because I'm gonna have to give it to him. I'm gonna have to give him the script as I'm kind of typing it out, because I kind of know I jotted down the main points of what they're saying, but somehow I'm gonna have to put that into actual letters so that he can put it into speech bubbles, and I'm not looking forward to that conversation because I think he's just gonna curse me out. I feel so bad. Was it hard finding a colorist? That's a great question, Rob. And I know you're going through those challenges right now too. You're going through those hurdles. And the answer is yes, but not for the reasons that you're talking about. Not necessarily because of the availability, but a lot of it had to do with what fit the art. I tested four people. I tested 4 people to take a pass out of 4 sequential pages for Arc, and one of whom I had a very comfortable previous working relationship with, a young lady, very, very talented colorist and artist by the name of Giovanna Nero, and I had an extended working relationship with her, working on Chrononauts 2 with Mark Millar. And I remember her turning in the pages, and I thought like, phenomenal, but it didn't feel right. You know what I mean? It didn't quite work out correctly on top of a handful of other factors that I'm not going to get into. But when I took a look at it, I was like, that looks great, but the feel of the book is not that, right? And I'm sure I could have walked Giovanna through it and be like, I'm actually aiming for this, but ultimately what I was looking for was just like that gut of like, how did they approach it just looking at it and based on talking about it, you know? And Jules was the first one that turned something in, and I was like, whoa, what is that? So that really popped. So in regards to like difficulty, it wasn't for the lack of candidate. It had a lot more to do with fit. Does that make sense? Are we looking at the baddies in this panel? No, you are looking at the members of Arc Athena. And this is the part of issue 3 where a lot of them are starting to realize we are in way over our heads, just way over our heads. There you go. There he is right now. The guy who's gonna save my butt. Panel in, panel in, page out, panel out. The level of patience that Jules has extended to me, I think, is pretty damn godlike. This guy is ready for sainthood, because there are times when he sends in pages that's just to check in. I must put him through hell. And I'm so glad I don't understand or nor speak Portuguese, because I suspect he'd be cursing me out in his native language by now. So thank you, Jules. I really appreciate it. The bad guys, I can show you some of them. Again, guys, if it's a spoilerish thing that you want to if it's a spoilerish thing that you want to avoid, kind of cup your ears and close your eyes, because we're going to show you some bad guys. Yeah, those are the bad guys. You guys see that okay? Those are some of the foot soldiers for the bad guys. And I wish I could show you some of Jules's colors, but because he's been killing it. And I'm not kidding. I don't know if you guys follow me on my social media, but you can see it on the bottom right hand corner there. But oftentimes, and I said this like a month ago in one of my posts, I literally wake up every morning and think to myself, like, what do I want to draw next? And I'll put it into Arc Athena, because it's been so, like, this is my tribute to that scene in Akira where they had a diagonal lift, a diagonal elevator, and that had left burned itself into my brain, and I thought, like, man, I want to draw that someday, and here we are. Kazuto, how are you? How is Brazil? I think all stories have been told in some way or another through different approaches to narrative archetypes. In my opinion, it's not about story. Yeah, I'm telling you this. I'll tell it with fervor. I don't know if I'll do it well, but I'm telling you, I don't know how to play the piano at all, but I'm gonna play it with gusto, and hopefully that'll be enough. So. Vorundor, how are you? Vorundor. Hello, everyone. Hi, Eric. How's everyone doing? Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. The understanding of what you want without asking, knowing how it should be colored. Yeah, it's a different. I think it's a different. The last time that you were talking about looking for a colorist, I think you were approaching it primarily from availability. I'm sorry if I'm not much help on that, Rob. Eric, will the issues be available all at once as separate floppies, or how do you envision it? It won't be available all at once. I said it earlier, but I'll walk you through it again. And by the way, now that I have Rob here, I'm gonna show him an idea that I've been working on. So the idea is, one of the main challenges when I started thinking about getting into is crowdfunding is, what is the space that hasn't sort of been approached before? It's because it's just been sort of standard operating procedure. One of the things that I had seen was, from start of campaign to end of campaign, there was this long lag of time before delivery. And I thought to myself, I think that's something that I can task myself with, I could challenge myself with, in, sort of narrowing that delta between end of campaign to the delivery into the backer's hands. So instead, I'm drawing all the books, right? On top of challenging myself with that, I am deathly afraid of getting caught behind the 8 ball, because life is life, right? Something is inevitably, knock on wood, nothing too terrible that'll happen. It's not something that's not too irrecoverable. but I just know I'm going to get caught behind the 8 ball of scheduling, and now it's going to take 8 months. Now it's not going to only take 8 months, it's going to go into a year. And that's heartbreaking for me to think that it takes a year from the end of campaign for somebody else to get it, because there have been, anecdotally, I've heard a couple of people go like, I don't even remember backing that campaign, but obviously I did because it was such a long time, but because it was such a long time ago, it completely gone down the memory hole. And I thought like, that sucks. So I challenged myself to deliver it, to sort of see if I can, again, narrow that end of campaign to delivery delta. And then I didn't want to burden myself with somehow falling behind. So I'm going to draw the entire series, 5 issues first, and then launch the campaign Q3, so September-ish of 2021. So issue 1 is going to launch however long the campaign runs for. At the end of that campaign, fulfill, right? And we are going to do our very best to do that in about 2.5 months. So end the campaign, the book is going to be in your hand in about 2.5 months. And we're going to give ourselves a 2-week breather, because there's going to be things that's going to inevitably catch up to us, like damaged books and whatever, what have you, right? Like the business and the pitfalls of fulfillment. But at the end of those 2 weeks, let's say 3 weeks, we launch the campaign for the second book, right? And so on and so forth until the end of all 5 issues. Does that make sense? And yeah, I am definitely on issue 3 already. Issue 3 has slowed down, and this is what I wanted to show you. Actually, for those people who are, Rich is asking me if I've spoken with Jimmy Palmiotti. Yep. He and I spoke 2.5 weeks ago. So I took Jimmy's temperature, and he is in similar spirit to everybody that I've spoken with in regards to how to fulfill well, how to have a successful one. It's similar, not identical, because everybody has their own experiences. I touched base with as many people as I could who have had experience and success at crowdfunding, and I wanted to pick their brains, and then ultimately not let that data be the thing that drives me, but definitely the data that informs me. So I'm going to give you guys, and for those of you who walked in late, here's what's taking up with, like, issue 1 and 2, I finished like what it felt like in a snap. Issue 3 slowed down because now I needed to plan what I was going to do for campaign 1. So as and I showed this to people earlier, so forgive me if I'm going over old stuff. So the idea is 3 months runway into issue 1. We're going to be building up a newsletter, which means it requires me to ask people to subscribe to it. But for that newsletter, newsletter subscription, for the value of your email and your time, we are going to be giving away something like a very sort of, I believe, a pretty nice sort of like thank you very much, right? But let's say in month 1, but on top of that, in month 1, let's say we get like 100 people who subscribe, right, to the newsletter. At the end of that month, we pick 1 out of the 100 to get, I think I showed this too. How did I do this? Oh yeah, here we go. So here's the, stand by, I'm gonna bring this over to the second desktop. Here is the, can you guys see that? Okay. Here is the render that I did for the bust that we are going to be printing out in 3D. Right? So I don't know if you guys remember this. Some of you may not have been collecting comics or been comic book centric back in the day, but back in the day, I loved the idea of these Bowen Marvel mini busts of like Wolverine, and like I just loved that stuff back in the day. Like I couldn't afford it, but when I would see it, I was like, oh my gosh, I would go broke if I bought all the ones that I really like, but I love them, right? But we're going to be printing out a 3D bust, like 3 of them, And at the end of each month, this is a loose number. This is not a number, but like, let's say we get 100 people who sign up for that newsletter. Out of the 100, they're going to get something, I think that's pretty nice, but we're going to take those 100 names, those 100 emails, and say, hey, you guys get a bust. One of those people, one of the 100. And we take the remaining 99 and roll them over into the second month, right? And then we randomly select, let's say there's another 100 in the second month. So now there's 199. Out of those 199, one of them will get the second bust, and we send that out, right? So we are left with 198. And that third month, let's say we get another 100. So there's 298. One of those 298, we send out the third bust to. Is that cool? And so this is what I sent to the sculptor, to the 3D sculptor, and then this is the work in progress for it. Isn't that cool? And every month we're going to pick a new character to give away. That the character from Arc Athena, until we have about 5. So it might be Arc Athena, it might be Arc Poseidon. So there you go. And I figured, as far as cost effectiveness is concerned, it may be a little bit more, but I love the idea of getting people involved. I love the idea of having people go like, dude, did you see that thing? I would love to build a community that's just paying attention to, or who have the same feeling as I did when that stuff was coming out. Just be so excited by seeing it in a news, or not in a newsletter, but in an ad inside Previews magazine. There's still Previews magazine, but I'd see it in a little tiny box, 1.5 by 2-inch box, 3-inch box. I'm like, oh crap, that is so cool. And so I want that feeling. I want to instill that feeling into people with these campaigns. So I figured this is cost effectiveness is okay. It's approachable. It's not, by no means is it cheap. Right? But I believe that it's worth it because, again, that intent of instilling people with that level of excitement. You cannot buy them on the campaign. Nope. They are not available in the campaign. At least there are no plans to do so. When are you doing the email list? Also, did I hear you write about an ash can? Yes, so that's the other thing. Forgive me as I walk you through. For the early adapters of each and every campaign, so for issue 1, we haven't landed on a number yet. It may be 48 hours, it may be 72. Not exactly sure. We're still running through the figures of what it looks like. But for the early adopters, for the first people who what's the term? Who support the campaign for X amount of hours, right? We're going to be sending out with their purchase, with their item, an ash can of each issue that looks like this, right? It looks like it's going to be the collected pages that look like this. No extra fills, no bubbles, no whatever. So we're going to be sending that out to them. Jim Cox, thank you so much for that word. It's right here. See, look, this is how noob I am. Backers. Jesus. Forgive me, guys. And obviously we're going to be releasing as an option, all the black and white pages on their own. And the other thing, and you guys are going to get a good laugh out of this, because I'm getting a good laugh out of it. And when I pitched it, my friends had a good laugh. They were like, "You're so stupid." Back in the day, when I worked at Warner Brothers Animation, there was we went through the exercise of finding the delisters of every Marvel Universe handbook. Do you guys remember that? The Marvel Universe, or like the DC Who's Who. And man, we would find like the most awful, just no-name characters you ever heard of in your life. And then that would be the subject of the entire studio. All the artists in the studio would do their version of that character. And I remember I had a ton of downtime that was not by design. I was just really, really lazy. And we landed on a character called Gamecock. Gamecock. By the way, forgive, I promise there's an end to it. There's a reason for this story. And I remember everybody did their version of Gamecock. It's all kind of funny because, again, they're like D-listers, F-listers, you know? And everybody turned theirs in, and I got bored just, waiting for the next character. So I started doing more than one. But in doing more than one, I started doing it in everybody else's style of that era. So I did one in Mobius' style, and I did one in Rob Liefeld's style, and then I did one in Mike Mignola's style. And I'll put them up online, and I'll show you guys what that stuff looked like. But I was aping them pretty hard, But it was a lot of fun. It was a challenge for me because I was like, how well do I really know Mobius? Like how well do I know his style? And I got Mobius-ish, not as genius, obviously. And I got Rob Liefeld-ish, and not as bombastic, but I got close. Point being is that at one point, because this is, Arc Athena is such a huge tribute, and almost love letter to an era of comics, early 90s, X-Men, and, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and Rob and all that kind of stuff. I had the dumb idea of reaching out to those guys and saying, hey, I have this crowdfunded book. Can you guys do a guy solid and do an alternate cover for me? Knowing full well there was no way in hell. There was no way. They would not be able to provide an alt cover so that would be a premium in which I could use as an alternative to the book, as sort of a as a catch for the book, right? An extra level. Anyway, it was, and on top of that, even if they all said yes, right? Imagine these gentlemen at these sort of daily responsibilities that they have to deal with, just coordinating that many people, that level of rock star. But the audacity that I had to just be like, hey, can you? Just stupid. It didn't hurt, but even if they had said yes, it would have been, and I say this as respectfully as possible, like nightmarish to coordinate. I just knew it. So instead, I'm just going to draw like them. So a handful of these alternate covers is going to be me doing my take on Jim Lee and calling it. I remember seeing it for the first time in Transformers that were not official. They called it KO, which stands for knockoff. So I am going to be doing a handful of KO covers that mimic and ape those guys' styles. There you go. And as I go, I'll show them on Instagram and I'll show them on my social media. What's my favorite piece that I've ever done, but not Arc Athena? Favorite piece that I've ever done. Oh gosh. In recent memory, I don't know about favorite, but one that surprised me is the painting that I did of Bo-Katan from the most recent Mandalorian. I didn't know, like when I'm doing the piece, I'm in the middle of it, so I'm just drawing and drawing and drawing. And then when I have an opportunity to step back and see the end product, it's rare that I'll be like, that was successful. And that was one of the most recent times that I remember doing that, where it's like, hey, that turned out really good, and it got me excited to do the next one and the next one and the next one. I hope that ends. I hope that's somewhere close, somewhere what you were looking for. I swear I'm going to draw This is what I was talking about to myself. Like, hey, why can't I just do this in the morning? I was debating when I would do these streams, in the morning or at nighttime. And in the morning, when I'm up at like 4 a.m., that's when I'm crunching really, really hard for about 5 hours until my work starts, so that I can get Arc Athena pages done. Or I said, well, maybe I can do it at nighttime, in which I'm just kind of winding down and there isn't that much stress on me because pretty much I've done all the work that I can do. If I'm doing this in the morning, I would get no work done. Because look, I've been streaming for an hour and a half. I put down maybe 10 lines. And I haven't finished that panel. I had to crank through this panel if I wasn't streaming. But I think this is a critical component in building awareness, building awareness for me and my body of work, keeping people informed and looped in on how far along. And obviously, I want everyone to have sort of what would you say, enthusiasm towards me finishing and getting through it. And I know there are times when 3 weeks back, I just could not get through the beginning portion of this book, like the beginning portion of issue 3, to start laying it out. And I think a community, I've seen communities who are super enthusiastic about supporting the creators, and I thought, like, oh, I bet you if I had people that not necessarily I'm answerable to, but if I felt that energy, I bet you this would be a whole lot sooner. Because again, drawing comics is not a sprint. Drawing comics is like a marathon. So it's always nice to know that you have the support of people. You miss Run Love Kill, but this looks even better. Thank you, Jaro. I appreciate that. Run Love Kill was a ton of fun to draw, not sustainable financially in the time that I had allotted for it. Actually, it was my experience with Run Love Kill that made me super gun shy about going out the door without having the entire series finished already. There was a lot of miscommunication, and I blame myself for it. That when we launched, my intent with Run Love Kill is similar to my intent for Arc Athena, which is finish it first, then launch it. But I think there was, in such a way, I didn't communicate that idea to Image. And when we debuted it at Image, is it called ImageCon? Shoot, I don't want to. But it was a press convention in which Image unveils a lot of their books. They were under the impression that once we make people aware of this, we're going to go, right? We are going to start releasing it. And man, I got caught behind the 8 ball schedule-wise. I just could not produce that book fast enough, to the point where I had to put a stop in doing it because everything else was suffering, including my actual job, because I was doing that on the side. And there was no way to sustain that. Just no way to sustain it long term. So I feel bad for not being able to finish it. I tell the same exact story every time somebody asks me how it's, why I didn't finish that. I take full responsibility for not being able to do it, not just on the front end, which I should have communicated better with the publishers, but also in the back end of not being able to be able to take it home. I owe a debt of gratitude, and really, I'm ashamed to not being able to deliver that for my friend John Sway, the writer of the book, because I think I genuinely did him a disservice by not being able to finish it. To this day, I still feel guilty about it. Frog G, how are you? How's things? How do I pronounce your name? Found your live right now. Is it Asir or Akir? Asir? Man, I should be on this live while I draw. You and I have about 20 minutes of time with each other's company, so if you don't mind sticking around for 20 minutes and watching me sporadically draw, Asir, a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for visiting. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate that. Technically, this isn't even the official stream, right? Like, I'm just trying to see if all the buttons work. Hold on, the music stopped again. Stand by. Here we go. Hey, there's the music. have to go to work. I have to go work on dinner. Have a great afternoon and night, y'all. Same to you, hockey. Is it hockey? Hokey. Hockey? Hockey like the sport? How has the reception been since you announced you were crowdfunding? I haven't made, Rob, I need to press that button as I'm reading your thing, and I need to be a better streamer. But I haven't made a very hard push of awareness that I'm going to be crowdfunding. I volunteered the information when people ask, but I need to be more deliberate about it, saying, hey, I'm crowdfunding this every single time that I put up an image that is Arc Athena related. That way, it has a little bit of stickiness and permeation, right? So they were like, oh, Kennedy's going to be crowdfunding soon, But I really feel like, and I know it's not right, I should take advantage of the runway between now and, again, near beginning of September. I need to be that much more deliberate. I need to be that much more methodical about making people aware of it. So thanks for checking me on that, Rob. I really appreciate it. This is pretty successful for not being a stream. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to do a handful more of these. So actually, more on top of everything else, on top of making sure that the buttons are getting turned on correctly, everything is working from music to what have you. I'm also trying to shake off the rust of being able to engage and interact with the crowd, being able to answer eloquently, right? Because I've seen the version of a stream where a guy is just like head down and not engaging with people, and that's fine, I guess. To each their own. I'm in no position to be overly critical. Who knows how successful that is for them? But for me, I would like to be able to talk to the people who could potentially be the people who put helping me. Number one, with the actual campaign itself, but also word of mouth goes a long, long way. And if one person believes in the project so much so that they'll be able to tell one of their friends, that's awesome. I would relish in that opportunity to be able to chit chat with them. I think your Arc Athena project is the best way to produce the work. If you don't want to struggle with deadlines, do it at your own pace and realize when you think it's proper. Yeah. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that all works. I had to deduct 0.25 points from the stream rating for the music briefly. I know, man. I feel awful. I'm going to find a way to have an extended, more robust playlist so I don't have to keep pressing on the music. But hey, one of those things. Thank you for checking me. Every time you show new pages, I want it more. Thank you. The thing is, I took a bunch of pages off of this iPad. My, my neuroses, I believe that any second now, this iPad is just going to crash. Right? I'm deathly afraid of that level of technical difficulty where all the pages were on this iPad. So the moment I get done with a page, or in that case, the moment I got done with sets of pages, I just upload them as quickly as I possibly can. Right? An issue with the app that I'm using, which is Procreate, it does not have a native auto save to a cloud. It's 2 or 3 more steps. So I forget sometimes to go like, all right, I just finished that page. It needs to be part of my habit to immediately save and upload just as soon as I finish the page. But I would show you, my point is I would show you more, but none of them exist on this iPad anymore because of my paranoia. Hitting 1 a.m. here, going to tap out and catch whatever I miss tomorrow. Thank you, Rich. Have a great evening. Thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate your time. I'm pretty sure Eric's been lurking for a while, so he knows how we talk to each other. I think you guys have a level of familiarity with each other that I share similarities with my friends. I don't know. I think I remember the first time that I hopped into a chat with you guys, Rob. I always think there's also a cultural nuance that is unique to your side of the world. That I appreciate, that was very, very entertaining to me. So yeah, the first time that I quietly sat in the back and watched you guys stream as a collective, from the How to Draw Comics guys to yours, I thought like, wow, these guys have great chemistry. And I think familiarity and admiration and respect for each other to be able to talk so openly. So, yeah, that's pretty damn cool. Hey, Billy, how are you? I always thought when I first read your name, I think it was via Twitter, I would read Billy Basco. But recently I just checked myself to be like, oh, see first, Demi. So forgive me, but welcome. Thank you for being here. You need to back up your iPad. Yeah, back up your iPad with 10 more iPads. Can I tell you, can I show you some of the function? Some of you guys got here late, but I know that Manifesto has been here since the very beginning, about an hour and 42 minutes ago. But can I tell you how much I am having a great experience with this app so far that is not StreamYard. I took StreamYard out for a spin and I thought, oh, this is usable, but it's not elegant for the thing that I wanted to do on my stream, right? And who was it earlier that said StreamYard definitely has a quote unquote look? And I was like, I am not an admirer of that look. And it's not to diminish people who are using StreamYard. It's simply to say that I took like a moment to go like, I think there may be other options. And the other thing, if I had used something like OBS is such a resource hog when it comes to computing cycles, and I just could not imagine running it on my Mac. So I had to look for an alternative that wasn't as burdensome. And I found this one. It's called Ecamm Live, but it's got this great sort of like, I want to be able to, I want to be able to test it soon, but like, look at these awesome transitions. You want to see like my big face? Stand by. Look at this. Whee. And I can go to like the iPad. Whee. Here's what's neat. And I really love this. I know this is not unique to, this version is not unique to this app alone. Obviously, you can do this on StreamYard as well. But what I want to do someday is to have a friend of mine on, and both he and I are working on something at the same time. Does that make sense? But even more importantly, or more excitingly, I should say, I want to be able to have two of my friends on, and we're all working on stuff on stream at the same time. Isn't that great? I can't wait. I'm excited for that. As you progress, wrenches, moderators are helpful in the YouTube chat. 100%. I agree with you. I was talking to, I think Panda was on earlier. Panda is an old mod of mine from like Twitch days. He's the guy that I immediately quote unquote wrench because he's really on top of things. But I remember he and I were talking about the prospect of me starting a stream. He was more than gracious enough to take me up on like, hey man, I'll be happy to mod for you if you decide streaming again. And I told him like, I don't think anybody's gonna show up. And he goes like, what do you mean? And like, I don't know, man. It's like freaking YouTube. You know how many YouTube art channels there are? And there are an overabundance. There's like a deluge, an oversaturation. I don't think anybody's going to show up. So I don't know if I'm going to need a mod or anything. And he said like, it's always nice. It's always better to be prepared than to not have anything in place. To which he's absolutely right. I respect him for bringing it up. But for a brief minute, I just kind of shrugged it off. I was like, a mod? Okay, can we just... I'm just going to be drawing, right? Eric, I always see you and as a master what you're doing, but you always sound not satisfied with your work. How satisfied are you with your work today? How satisfied am I with my work today? Today is a Saturday. All these days are just starting to merge with each other. Today is a Saturday, so work wasn't the priority. Family was the priority. So satisfaction in my work, actually, on top of that, on top of family responsibilities, my work today was making sure that this thing was at this thing being streaming, this thing being this app. I wanted to make sure that this thing was as, pardon the term, clean as possible. I didn't want anything fancy. I just wanted you to know that it's me, how to get in contact with me, how to be able to subscribe and follow me in my social media. So in as far as work was concerned, I'm pretty satisfied. Look, it's working. That's a win. Is there really 40 people in here? Hello, 40 people. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you just listening to me as opposed to watching me draw. I promise I'll get those muscles back, and I will be able to stream and draw at the same time. I promise you. I will fall flat on my face on that promise, but I can say that now. Kennedy panels are the best panels. They're very kind. Very, very kind. Thank you so much. The mods could be the crazy ones for sure. Unless the mods are the crazy ones. Yep. I remember that Jason, I call him by his given name, not his Twitch code name. But Panda will remind me, or I will remind Panda of how semi-decent I used to be at being able to read chat and draw at the same time. Right now, I'm exclusively doing one or the other, but that's okay. Forgive me, guys, if I'm not drawing as much. I really appreciate your tolerance and patience with me. You don't want to get rid of the crazy people, just the angry crazy people. We are going to, as best as we can as a collective, with my overall long-term mental health and stability, that we are not in any way, shape, or form a target for the angry, crazy people. Or I don't know. Maybe they'll be... I can't predict the future. Maybe they'll be a benefit. Yes, and your live is working smooth from this side. Thank you. Thank you, Asir. Thank you. You don't want to be... I just don't want to be timed out for spamming. Huh. I never thought of that. We're going to have to wrench a bunch of people soon. Eric, do you have preferred times that you plan to stream night or day? I think, just the way I explained it earlier, doing it in the daytime is suboptimal, because that's when I crunch and actually get pages done before work starts. So doing it at nighttime, right around now, which I know there's a lot of different people in as far as like streaming traffic is concerned. There's a lot of people who are doing it this time of day. There's no way for me to accommodate that sort of quote unquote airspace to be able to just, because I really want to make some sort of headroom in regards to awareness for my campaign. I think it's critical. I think it's essential. So again, not to diminish everybody else who's sort of streaming at this time of night, but yeah, this is probably going to be the time that I do it. 8 p.m.-ish Pacific time. Hi, Belle. How are you? So here's the thing. That's probably going to be one of my mods, is Belle. And here's how good I am as a streamer / artist. I did not tell her that I was going live today. I just said, I'm going to turn on this camera. I'm just going to hit the stream now button. So Belle is probably going to be the person who can stay up long enough, along with Panda, people whom I'm comfortable with, I'm aware of, as far as like them being able to do their the job well. Sorry, Belle. I'll do better. Okay, good. The closer, like, I'm afraid to put this stylus down onto the screen because I'm like, okay, am I going to miss a question? Am I going to miss a conversation? I'm going to do my best to look up once in a while. And hopefully I won't miss too much of what you guys are talking about. But in the meantime, before somebody says anything to me, I'm going to sneak in how to draw. I'm going to sneak in drawing this mouth. And my issue sometimes whenever when I'm zoomed in this much, I get so hung up on, like, I think those lines are necessary, and then I zoom out. A digital canvas is super beneficial in many, many ways, less so in the most obvious ways, which is I need to get into the exercise and habit of zooming out. So I don't get hung up on stuff that's never going to show up in actual print. I'm doing a page of Talking Heads right now because I really want to be able to get through this scene. I'm doing them in chunks and I'm not doing it chronologically only because I've already done all the layouts for them. So I don't feel, and by the way, that has so many landmines in it. But I don't feel it's as critical to do them, page 1 all the way to page 40. By the way, just as a heads up, each issue of Arc Athena is 40 plus pages. So I believe as a value, and I don't know if that's become standard now for crowdfunded books, right? 40 pages, is that the number that everybody tries to hit? Issue 1 and issue 5 are 48 pages. Issue 2 and 48 story pages. Issue 2 to issue 4 is 40 story pages. So what are the dimensions of the page? This page in specific is 11 by 17, but if you want to know it in pixels, I'm sorry, I don't know. I wonder if Bancroft will get chat to buy Arc Athena. I need to hit the button. Hit that button. I mean, all I can hope for is the already pre-existing support that that Bancroft has shown. Not like long-term continued. I'm very grateful for the time that he brought me on to his show, and that's plenty. If there's nothing else moving forward than that, I just had that opportunity, and that was great. I was so appreciative of that, just being able to chit chat with them, getting to meet new people, and I think that's one of the really amazing sort of new things that I'm experiencing now that also helped to erode my enthusiasm for doing comics, is because it got turned into work. And mind you, it's still a business, but I feel like the enthusiasm that I'm currently experiencing, and I'm also seeing it from guys like Rob and Bancroft, and from Corey and Clayton, who've been very kind into inviting me into the fold. But like, I felt like the way I felt way back when I was still frothing at the mouth to do anything comic book related, to see new stuff that's coming around, right over the horizon, to be like, that looks exciting, and I think I love hanging out with people who aren't who aren't as cynical, right? Again, I keep landing on the word enthusiasm. They all want to make comics, and by proxy, I want to do it, but it hypes me up even more, and I love that feeling. So hanging out with those guys, having an opportunity to say hi to them in any way, shape, or form to support them, I'm all for it. So I love that. Eric, have you ever worked with Trent? Yeah, multiple times. He and I worked at the same game company at one point. Trent is a phenomenal talent, and when he had me on his show, he kind of handled me with kid gloves. But he's a great creative, and an astute businessman. And he sets there are plenty of examples of it in chat. People who are forging their own way through whatever business that they're doing. Trent is an exemplary in his attitude towards creative and work balance. And what did he do? Did he launch Creed already? Jeez, man, that guy. Talk about a high level of admiration and respect. On top of running his business, he's also going to go do a comic, and he's also going to be a family man. Yeesh. It's awesome. Eric, any brushes you are liking these days, even for Procreate? Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like I am so. It's like brushes and brush sets are like a buffet for me. Like I never exclusively stick with one guy's set of brushes. So I'll see one that performs like similar to what you're seeing on screen now, and I'll take it out and put it into a folder and you can see it. I think if I do the drop down menu, like this is literally called like Canetti Comics. So I remind myself these are the brushes that I use for this comic book set, right? And then there's a set of brushes here that I use for my concept art. So yeah, I like I said, a buffet, and I just bring everything over that's relevant and usable for that project. And who knows if I'll even stick with these brushes in the future, if these will be the same set that I use. But for the time being, yeah, these are the ones. And I couldn't tell you where I got them from. Right, it's very poor. I've ended up, there's some that are obvious, like the Max. I know who that is. Like I know who the artist is that released that brush set. But some of these I've renamed to the point where I'm like, okay, I think there's no way for me to backtrack who that originally belonged to. Unhinged Entertainment, hello, thank you for being here. I hope everyone is doing okay. Again, thank you all for visiting. Thank you all for keeping me company. I'm gonna go another 15 minutes and politely and as elegantly as I can excuse myself. Oh, there's still a handful of. Do I need to include like an outro or something like that? Is Belle still in the chat? Is that still a thing that people do? Do they still have outros? Like a thing that makes you go like, hey, thank you for being here. I had such fun with you. That doesn't sound disingenuous at all. Eric, I'm new to this arc, Athena. Where can I get more info about it? Great question, Vorndor. As we speak, the young lady that I just referred to in chat, Belle, she is currently building my website as well. So as soon as that is up and running, I will make everybody aware of it. We are going to dedicate a page in which we will preview a handful of production art for it, and in which we will give you a narrative, a very short synopsis of what the series is all about, to garner more of your interest. And hopefully on that same page, that's where we're going to be doing the email collection for the newsletter. Just come up with a signing out catchphrase like, I gotta go pee. That's probably going to be it. That's probably going to be the sign out catchphrase. I have to go pee. Please do not put the A dot R dot C dot. That is so obnoxious. It was obnoxious of me to think of, and I told you this story out of confidence and a level of vulnerability. It's also, I think you're talking about, William is talking about, it's short, it's stupid, I love it. It's also the truth. There are plenty of times previously, this was years ago, back when I streamed on Twitch, that would be the impetus, and by which I'd have to excuse myself from the stream because I need to go make a stream someplace else. Heyo. Ryan Wynn, hello, how are you? Thank you for being here. Did I get a chance to say hello to I Borrow Ideas? Yeah, as a community of the people that I've had an opportunity to hang out with, I don't know of a more welcoming crowd in the most recent set of people that I've hung out with, and I am so very humbled that they take time out of their day to say hi to me, because as best as I can, if this is a classroom, I'm all the way in the back in the last chair closest to the far wall. The fact that they've just been so accommodating, so warm, and so kind to me, that's pretty damn cool. So thank you, everybody. Technically, I'm not drawing. This is true. I am caught on that technicality. All right, 10 minutes. 10 minutes and then I gotta... boy, see? See what I mean? When you're out of practice, streaming and drawing. By the way, I think I'm going to, especially because there's really no stress in me trying to get work done. It's a nice sort of bonus, right? And I think that's the way I have to think of it, because otherwise I'd sit here, similar as I just did all of 2 seconds ago, to be like, oh man, I'm not drawing and I'm not getting any work done. That doesn't feel good, and it's really unfair to sort of the motivation for me, the reasoning for me to be streaming right now. If I wanted to get work done, I should just turn off the camera and draw, but it really is an opportunity to connect and chit chat with people. So for the most part, I'm going to take all of that stress off of the table by saying like, hey, this is a nice bonus. If I get work done, that would be great, but it won't be the primary reason why I'm streaming. But in saying that, there will be opportunities in which, like 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, 2 nights ago, there goes the memory, but 2 nights ago, Rob kindly asked me to come on to the How to Draw Comics show and critique a 16-year-old kid, and I remember being 16. And I thought to myself, like, I would have turned to as many people as I could and say, like, how do I get better at my craft? And what an amazing opportunity that is to be like, to have the kind of resources that we have now to be able to turn to somebody who has the experience and sort of work-related notches on their belt to be able to give you feedback on your work so that you could somehow take it and make yourself, you could strive to get better. And I remember, this was offline. It was in the ready room, and the kid was like nervous. Josh, his name's Josh. He was super nervous, and I didn't quite understand why. And then I told my wife about it, and she's like, "Did you ever think that maybe because he really, really likes your work?" And I forgot. I forgot that there is that thing that people get caught up in. Because in my mind, if you're an artist, you and I are on the same journey, same marathon together. You and I are rowing the same boat. But I think that guy had a level of respect and reverence for my work that humbles me to no end. And if there's any way that I can give away some of the knowledge that I have now and be able to help him out, not his artist in his position, right? Trying to get better, looking for feedback that they will in turn incorporate so that they can even so that their craft raises X amount of levels up. Hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, or if I'm giving my feedback right. Point is, there's going to be opportunities with this stream in which I can pay forward the lessons that I've learned, some of the learnings that I'd picked up over my career. And if there's an opportunity for that, it might not be scheduled because that kind of makes it inorganic. It's like, oh, Tuesdays I'm going to go through the portfolio reviews, and it becomes like a not the actual process, but the idea of it becomes sort of like a slog, right? But if there's ever opportunity of it, I just did it for, what did I do it for? I forget their name, but they were asking about a Spider-Man pinup that they had done, and they were. I was really afraid that I was just going to take all the wind out of their sails, and I hope not. But my feedback to them as I was doing a draw over their piece was really out of like, you got to keep this going. This is so good, but here's a couple things that you can tighten up a bit, and I bet you it's just next one that you do will just kick so much more butt. So maybe there's definitely an opportunity to use this platform, to use my streaming time for that. So that'll be great. Joshua said after the stream, it was the best day of his life. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I hope between myself, the people involved, that he managed to walk away from that with just one more piece of the puzzle in order to become a better craftsman. It's a lifelong journey, obviously, but little bits here and there where you can get it. And the thing is, sometimes when you're drawing, when you're at that stage in your career where things are starting to make sense, they make sense to you in a, oh gosh, what's the best way to, like in an instinctual way, right? Like you go through it, drawing it instinctually, and you go like, that kind of makes sense. But when somebody who understands the formula explains it to you, it now becomes part of that thing in the back of your mind that goes like, oh, I know how that works. You can engage it anytime now actively, as opposed to letting it just sort of like, oh, I accidentally fell into that, which is a component of that instinctual nature to just draw something, right? When you can find the formula, when you can store the formula in your head, engage it actively, I think that's the best sort of like the best sort of learning, right? Because now it becomes part of your mental Rolodex. I want to watch this live completely tomorrow. Please don't shut it down. I'd never thought of that. I'd never thought that there is versions of streams like this in which I won't post it for later viewing. I never thought of that. That'd be interesting. Because on Twitch, the VOD, right, would only be up, Bell, how many days after you stream? 10 days? 6 days? I can't remember. Okay, so Bell says about 30 days. Borendor says about 2 weeks. So between 2 weeks and 30 days. But they disappear. I didn't know that they were evergreen. I never thought about the evergreen nature of leaving them up on YouTube. But that'd be interesting. I don't know. All depends on whether or not I do or say something embarrassing. Manifesto is saying 3 weeks. Everybody, just I'm gonna believe everybody. Did I say 15 minutes? Uh-oh. Oh, guys. The internet is holding up. It is now 2 hours and 10 minutes since I started. I think that's a fair amount of time. What do you guys think? Yes? I think that is an adequate amount of time to say, hey, that was a successful sort of a dry run. I'm gonna finish this face, maybe the back of this chair. Do my best not to ignore chat again. See, look at this quality entertainment. Look at this quality engagement. As I sit here and look at my canvas. Okay, don't rush. Rushing is what gets me in trouble. I remember when Clayton had me on and I was doing a panel while we were all on stream together. And I rushed through that panel, not because I was trying to show off, but because I thought I had everything figured out. One of the key things I try to do, especially when I am overconfident in the idea that I've done all the heavy lifting in regards to the page because I've roughed it all in, one of the things that I actively try to do is always measure. Does it make sense? It made sense when it was in its pencil stages, maybe, because everything is like loose and rough and a tiny bit chaotic. That's the nature of it. Another thing that I tried to do is measure it in such a way that does it make sense when it's in the inks, right? Because sometimes something looks like, oh yeah, that's absolutely rock solid in pencil form. Then I ink it and I go like, that is the most jacked up thing I've seen today. And so that was an exercise that I did not engage when I was doing that, when I was inking on the on Clayton's stream. I didn't take the time to just stop inking for a bit, take a look, see if it worked, as you're seeing me do now, right? Which is like I'm zooming in and zooming out just to measure. Is that, like, for instance, I can get hung up on this detail that's in this corner over here, and then like, ooh, I know what that is. That's a seam in the chair and blah 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 blah. And then you zoom out and you go like, that doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna care. The letter is gonna go. The letterer. It may be in an area in which the letterer is gonna see at this most opportune time for them to, opportune space for them to do their work. And I just spent like 20 minutes rendering the hell out of a seam. You know, it doesn't make much sense. So I really have to actively remind myself, hey, zoom out, dum-dum. This is a solid stream. Definitely look forward to more of these. Thank you so much, Lex. I hope I can maintain the momentum. I really, really hope I can maintain the momentum. Eric, are you planning on to show some colored ones? I don't know if I have any on this iPad, Jules. I normally keep them off the iPad for the sake of you, to be honest with you. I don't. So Jules sends me pages, and I absolutely love them. And I try not to bring them into the iPad is because my awful nature of thinking, especially when it comes to art, is painting over. And the last thing I want to do is get in Jules' way and become even more of a headache. So the answer is no. There isn't any work. There aren't any colors on here. But if you tell me, hey man, I would like for you to show some of that stuff off, I'd be more than happy to. Because you are a rock star. And you are going to be the reason why this book looks as good as it does. If you're okay with me showing off that stuff, I'm on board. I'm hesitant, not just for the sake of obviously like, hey, maybe it's not the version that you want to show, but also because we're in a space now that I don't want to spoil it for anybody, right? It's like sometimes you see that page so many times when a guy is streaming. By the time you see it in context for the book, although, in speaking with Jimmy Palmiotti, he was just like, show it off. Nobody's ever going to be able to sort of like stitch the entire thing together to the point where they're like, oh, we know how the story goes already. Just show it to people because there's value in being able to have them go like, holy cow, I really, really love that. But because I'm so close to it, I'm all like, isn't this just going to get boring? Oftentimes the answer is no. People love seeing that stuff. I don't know. So I will listen to more successful brains than my inexperienced one and show you guys whatever it is that you guys are down to see as far as Arc Athena is concerned. Be happy to. And Jules, if you're okay, me showing you the work, even if it's in its work in progress stage, dude, you deserve it. You deserve as much attention as possible. Although, don't forget, you and I have an arranged page rate, so don't get crazy. Don't get crazy. There's going to come to a point when you are going to be unaffordable. I'm just kidding, dude. You're worth every freaking nickel. I want to see colors for unrelated reasons, not because I'm looking for colors. Holy crap. Okay. I'll preview for you. Let me see if I can find it on my phone and send it on over. And that'll be the last thing I show off, I promise. And then I'll sign off and we can call it a successful night and you guys can go off in your for your individual weekends. I will preview for you. Is that the right one? It's probably not the right one. This is the right one. The entrance of the main antagonist. Do you guys want to see that? The antagonist? Okay, here we go. And again, Jules just freaking killed. Just killed. Can you guys see that okay? I think Jules is just showing off now. Okay, one more because I'm so dang proud of the guy. Here is the do you guys remember in early 90s comics, again, for those of you who collected comics back in the day, there was always the team jump. Do you guys remember that? When everybody would jump whatever aircraft helicarrier that they had. So I thought it would be it would be dumb of me not to do it because this is such a love letter and tribute to that. So if you guys want to see Jules render the hell out of a team jump. Ready? Oh, God. Here we go. I'm going to send it to the iPad so we can check it out together. Or procreate, excuse me. There you go. And keep in mind, as exciting as this is, with every page that we work on, Jules is like some weird learning AI. He's still calibrating as we go. Yeah, as we go, he is still getting better. He is still sort of like, does this feel right? Does this work? Does this, we're toning down, we're ramping down saturation in certain areas, and then there are times when his instinct just kicks in and goes, I think this feels right. I'm like, you're absolutely right. 100%. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to know the reason for why that guy... Oh wait, do I have more pages on the photo side of this thing? Jules, I'm going to show people more of your pages, okay? And hopefully I don't end up doing something stupid. Yeah, there you go. You know? Oh, we adjusted the eyes on that. Anyway, enough. I think that's it, right? We're good. 2 hours, getting closer to 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think we're good. That was a successful run. Okay, everybody, if I missed people in chat saying hello, if there are those of you who said hi that I missed saying hello back to, if there were questions to me that I missed, forgive me. I'm going to get better at streaming. I'm going to get better at reading chat while I go. As a matter of fact, if I'm learning anything now, I'm starting to understand, or I'm starting to remember the sort of percentage of attention that I need to give when I'm doing these kinds of stream, which is prioritize chat first always, and then whenever possible draw. Whenever possible in the gaps between a flurry of conversation, draw. So point being, sorry if I didn't get to say hi back. Sorry if I missed your questions. I promise to try to do this better next time. Cool. Other than that, I gotta go pee. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.